All right, guys. Well, happy Saturday. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm very excited to share with you what it is that we are going to be going over today. And the infinite banking concept is the title of what we are going to be talking about today. There's so much that we can go over, but we're going to keep this simplified for you and keep it a half an hour or less. So thank you guys for joining. Thank you for sharing your Saturday. And I'm going to honor your time and keep this very simplified. All right, so thank you for joining us for this exclusive masterclass. It's a tax-free wealth creation, the infinite banking advantage. And in this live session, we're going to unveil the secrets to leveraging infinite banking strategies to build tax-free wealth and secure your financial future for you and for generations to come. So who is this for? It's for all of us. For somebody who works hard for their money and wants to create more efficiency with their hard-earned money and keep it safe. A lot of the times, for me, example, when I first learned about this, I thought it was only for the wealthy, and I didn't even give it a second thought. And so, you know what? It's for every age, every income amount that you have. It really can be designed for you specifically. And that's the beauty of the infinite banking or family banking or being your own banker. There's so many different titles that you may have heard of. It's been out for generations, and I'm so excited to share this with you guys. So a little bit about me. I'm Brenda Dunville. Go ahead and jot down my information, my phone number, my email. I am first and foremost a lover of Jesus, a soul single mother of my son here, Mikey, and my little doggy, Archie. They grow up together. They're best friends, and they are my world. And I am an infinite banking expert. I help people with retirement upgrades and protecting their retirement from hidden retirement threats. And I am an independent agent, life insurance agent. So if you guys ever have any questions outside of what we're talking about today, feel free to reach out. So the key topics that we're going to talk about today include understanding the infinite banking concept, learning how to grow your wealth tax-free, leveraging the infinite banking concept for wealth accumulation and preservation, real life stories demonstrating the power of tax-free generational wealth creation, and practical steps to implement infinite banking strategies with your personal financial plan. What is infinite banking? Infinite banking is a financial strategy that utilizes a specially designed whole life insurance policy to build and access cash value over time. This strategy can offer benefits such as increased financial flexibility and control, as well as potential tax advantages. So I'm going to play this video right here. When I first got involved in this and I wanted to know more, it was because I was watching my friend that I know and trust for many years, and he is so humble. I didn't really fully know exactly what he did until I asked. And he is also a wealth strategist. He helps people. You're going to see a little bit about him here because I'll have him introduce himself on this video. But he's number one in the entire firm, and he has such a humble heart to be able to help set people up correctly, which 90% of whole life policies, unfortunately, aren't set up correctly for the benefit of the client to have a very strong play with infinite banking. And that's what we specialize in. So I'm really glad that you guys are here. So his example here will be, what if you had $700,000? A lot of us don't have $700,000, but he is a numbers person. He's going to show you what it looks like with that as an example. Even if you had just a regular income, you still can do this. Okay, so don't count yourself out, but this is the example that he's going to share.
Hey. or greater risk exposure. Listen, I have crypto. I think it's fantastic. That may or may not be your thing. But three main places where most people put their money is first in the bank. Now, the bank is certainly convenient. You can have your debit card, you take it around, you swipe it places. That's fantastic. But most people don't realize and understand about the risks associated with banks. And there's a lot of them. We'll get into more in a minute. But essentially, you don't, if there's nothing else you get from this, is when you deposit money at a bank, you no longer own that money and have any say what happens with it. And I realize that might be a provocative statement for you, but it's absolutely true. So then there's the market. The market can be great. I'm not going to be negative on the market. If you put money in the market and leave it there for a long period of time, you can absolutely see that grow, and that's fantastic. But it is very volatile. And so again, if you need access to a certain amount of money at a certain specific time in the future, you can't accurately predict that because there are no guarantees for growth in the market. There is exposure to losses. Oftentimes there's management fees with money guys and all sorts of things involved. If you're using any sort of market vehicle like a 401k or an IRA, there could be other red tapes and penalties and taxes and things that come into play just for wanting to use and access your money. And then this other play where many of the ultra wealthy have built and stored wealth, and I'm talking about millions and millions, and some families billions of dollars, is with high cash value mutual life insurance products. So let's talk about banks. Again, I'm not going to get super political here, but you need to understand that there are so many examples out there of the government and or political parties and affiliations restricting access for people to their funds. That was the truckers convoy a couple of years ago up in Canada there. This is the January 6th riots. And again, you might think Orange Man bad. I get that. Okay. But you have to understand that if they did it for one side, they can just as quickly do it for another side of a political affiliation. Right. And it's not just banks like you go down to Main Street and you deposit with Regions or Bank of America. It's all sorts of different financial institutions have got examples of this. And another thing when it comes to risk with banks, most people will go and they deposit the money at the bank and they feel great because they see that little FDIC sticker. Well, you have to understand everything about banking is about fractional reserve lending. That's why there were some bank failures earlier this year at the time of this recording. So here's something wild that most people don't realize. And this is as of March 31st, 2021. The FDIC only had 1.25% of the deposits that they were actually responsible for. That means for every $100 that they were responsible for insuring and protecting, they only actually had $1.25. So if there is some sort of bank run or multiple bank failures going on, they may not have the ability to protect and insure those funds. And again, I mentioned this, but again, this is straight from the Google. If you want to go check this out, but when you open a bank account and you deposit cash, you surrender the legal title to the cash and it becomes an asset of the bank. Really important to understand. So that's some of the issues going on with banks. So the dilemma that most people have when it comes to creating legacy wealth, passing wealth from generation to generation, is do I spend it or leave it? Or do I spend it and enjoy my retirement in those later years? Or do I leave something to bless my kids and grandkids, right? And that's what most people are faced with. And if we look at just, there's all sorts of headlines out there. Most Americans don't expect to leave an inheritance. I found this one really interesting because this isn't 16% of Americans. This is 16% of millionaires only inherited $100,000 or more. Most millionaires are first generation millionaires, and most millionaires have lost all that wealth within 2 generations. Okay, the average inheritance is only $46,000. To get, what a blessing, absolutely. But you have to understand too that includes millionaires, right? So those numbers are really skewed. If you look at the median inheritance, is actually much, much lower than that, and the numbers are continuing to decline and dwindle across the country. So let's say here, this is you and your hypothetical family, and let's say you had 4 kids, and you've got $700,000, and you have decided, I want to leave a legacy. So that's a fantastic thing, and kudos to you for having 700 grand. That's a blessing right there. You're already way out ahead of where the average American is. So you have 4 kids, and you want to just leave it to them evenly. So for each of those 4 kids, it's divided 4 ways, about 175,000. But after taxes, they're only going to walk away with about 125,000. Again, that's almost 3 times the national average. So you have done great. in no way do I want to diminish what you have accomplished there. That is fantastic. That's a blessing. That's going to help them buy a home or take some nice trips or pay for college, all those different things. That's great. But would you agree, for one, having done the hard work of having $700,000 to leave, them only getting 125,000 each, that's not as much as that could be. So what I'm going to show you here is another play that this is accessible to just about everybody out there, but the masses just don't know about it and understand it. And so what we're going to look at here is, this is a real life illustration for a healthy 34-year-old female. And I'm going to break down the numbers specifically. And this is from a carrier. In fact, my family, we personally have 5 of these infinite banking policies in our family with this carrier. So it's one of my preferred carriers. I like to help families get this set up with. Okay, but you might not be a 34-year-old healthy female. I get that. So some of these numbers, they might just take a little longer to do what I'm going to explain here in a minute. But for most folks, these concepts still work, with some rare exceptions. So let's look on the left-hand side first. Let's take, what if you took that $700,000 and you said, you know what, over the next 7 years, I'm going to pay a $100,000 premium into a properly structured high cash value whole life insurance company with a mutual life insurance, or a whole life insurance policy with a mutual life insurance company. And again, I realize you might say, well, I don't have 700 grand. These numbers would skew down percentage wise to whatever you could start putting into this. But I'm just showing an apples to apples comparison with the family we just looked at a minute ago with 700 grand. Okay. So, and why 7 years? That has to do with what's called the modified endowment contract. Essentially, it's going to give you the ability for all of this wealth to be accessed and transferred without tax consequences. Okay, that's why that's so important. So we split up that 700,000 into 7 individual $100,000 premiums. Okay, so what you need to understand is cash value. So an important part is, when you structure these right, is you have access to your cash value immediately. So you'll see in year one, $100,000 premium, you have access to $79,841, almost 80%, right, of what you put into it. And you'll notice that death benefit starts out now at over $4 million. Now, it's highly unlikely that a healthy 34-year-old female is going to pass away in the next 12 months, right? That's highly unlikely, but we get that. But if God forbid she did, one, she only put 100,000 in and had a $4.1 million death benefit payout. Plus, she still has the other 600,000 that she didn't pay into the policy yet. Would you agree that in that highly unlikely, horribly tragic situation, they just significantly increased what that generational wealth transfer looks like for the family, right? But so what we're going to focus on now is this year 7. So let's say things go on smoothly. 7 years later, you just start moving that money into the whole life policy. You own and control that. You'll see now after 7 years, the cash value is $707,000. So you have more cash value than what you put into the policy. And if you look over on that left side with year 8, you're going to see that you never pay a premium ever again. So all you did was pay 7 $100,000 premiums and never pay a premium again. Well, now what you'll notice is that death benefit after year 7, this is technical, it does what's called reduced paid up. Okay. All that means is they look at the $700,000 cash value. They say, how much interest and dividends can this earn to continue to self-fund the policy? And you'll see that it's still going to have an over $2.5 million death benefit. You could just put the 700 grand in, pull the 700,000 out 7 years later through policy loans, which we'll explain more. You can withdraw it too, but policy loans would probably make more sense, especially as you learned about the infinite banking concept. And now you're going to see that wealth transfer, if God forbid something happened there at year 8, well, now $2.5 million would be a tax-free payout. So instead of each kid getting getting a $125,000 after-tax payout, now they're each getting over $600,000. So 5 times higher, right? Huge win just on that. But one thing to understand about properly structured cash value whole life insurance policies is the longer they're in force, the better they work. And again, remember, maybe you're in your 50s and you're not super healthy, but in average health. So maybe instead of 7 years to get whole on the cash value, maybe it takes you 9 years. It might take 1 or 2 or 3 years longer, but this concept's still going to work. So now let's fast forward, and let's say this average this average life expectancy of say 85 years old, you'll see all these years never paying a premium again. But watch what continues to happen with that cash value. Year after year after year, it's continuing to grow like that. And the death benefit is continuing to grow like that. So remember the dilemma of do I spend it or do I leave it? Do both here. You can access the cash value. You can use it to live a nice retirement, go on vacations, do the things you want to with your grandkids, and still have potentially in this scenario several $1,000,000 left over that wind up paying out tax-free to your loved ones, to your kids, your grandkids, et cetera, like that. So now again, if you only had 70,000 to pay in over 10 years or 7 years, then it would just be 10% of these numbers, but the concept would still work. Don't get hung up on, well, I don't have 700 grand. Get hung up on what could I do to be protecting and growing my money more efficiently and creating a greater legacy opportunity for my children and grandchildren today. That's the idea of this. So let me ask you this. What is it that banks know that the average person doesn't? Did you know there's something called bank-owned life insurance? So you'll see that this is as of December 31st, 2021, the top 9 banks with their life insurance policy assets they own. Bank of America, over $24 billion of life insurance they own. Wells Fargo, almost $20 billion of life insurance. So one thing they do is they take out cash value whole life insurance policies on every what's called key employee. It's called key person's life insurance. And so, they might work there for 5 or 10 years and then go on to something else. And the bank continues to own and control those life insurance policies. And, one day, Lord willing, many, many years from now, when that employee passes away, all that tax-free money pays back into the bank. Isn't that an amazing concept? See, banks are incredibly smart. Again, they might do some questionable things, but they're very smart when it comes to making money, right? You deposit with fractional reserve lending, you deposit $100 and they lend out 1,000. It's wild what they do. So why is it they love this high cash value life insurance? Because it works and it has great features. Other benefits of life insurance. Did you realize that mutual life insurance companies, they did phenomenally well during the Great Depression? During the Great Depression, 40% of banks failed. 90% of the stock market crashed. In fact, I think it took like 28 years for the stock market to recover. But people who had their money in dividend-paying mutual life insurance companies didn't lose a penny. In fact, many of those companies literally paid dividends. That means they returned profits every single year through the Great Depression. Did you know that if you take a loan against your cash value, you don't even have to pay it back? Now, as you study the infinite banking concept, if you go into more details with those books I shared previously, or I also have a video called Inside Infinite Banking if you want to learn more about how to utilize that concept. Many times it's going to make sense to pay the loan back, but you don't have to. There's no legal requirement to do that. Isn't that amazing? Did you also know that your cash value in a life insurance policy is protected from creditors, and in many states is also protected from litigation too? It's got so many unique features, and that's one of the reasons why the ultra wealthy love it. So if this is interesting and you want to know more, first thing to understand, this play is available to everyone. In our family, we're not multi-billionaires, but that was one of my hangups. I thought you had to be like ultra wealthy to start this. And once we finally got those couple of unanswered questions from that what would the Rockefellers do book, everything came together for us. This is super important to understand though. If you are interested in this and you know someone who's a life insurance agent, no disrespect towards them, but the vast majority of life insurance agents have no idea how to do this. They just haven't been trained. They don't practice it. Now, if you ask them, hey, can you do this for me? Most will say, yes, I can, but they can't. Remember how we showed how you structure it for just 7 years of $100,000 premium, it goes to zero. You never pay a penny again, but the cash value and death benefit continue to grow tax-free the rest of your life. That takes knowledge and specialized skills that most life insurance agents don't have. My family, we were practitioners of this first. I told you we have 5 policies in our family. Lord willing, we're going to fund more. I remember before I actually became an agent, I had a local friend here who I was trying to explain this concept to. He'd been a life insurance agent for like 6 years. He had no idea how to do this. Okay, this is really important to understand that you need to work with an agent who not only specializes in this, but also practices it for their own family. And again, remember we shared the sooner that this is enforced, the better it's going to work for your family. Remember that death benefit payout by age 85, because they started it in the 30s and then just self-funded it and never put another premium in ever again. And so if you found this interesting, you probably have questions. That's very normal, and you want to learn more. This video is probably either shared with you by another wealth strategist on our team we're working with, or it was shared with you by one of our satisfied clients who just are really excited to share this with you. So be sure to reach out to us or have them get you in touch with one of us on the team so you can schedule a free wealth strategy session and find out how you can get this in place for your family right away. We look forward to meeting with you.
All right, so let's go ahead and revisit what we just learned. That's so exciting. Jesse is absolutely phenomenal. I'm so blessed that he's not only a coworker of mine, but he mentors me through this so that I can learn how to set people up correctly as well. So it's phenomenal, the people that you have that God just puts in your path. So what we're going to do, here's your money. You can spend it or you can leave it, just like he was saying. So you can fund your policy, you can put it into your personal family bank, a high cash value whole life policy. Now, this is where it gets pretty fun. You can identify an opportunity. So a lot of you guys have something in your heart where you know that you were designed to do something a little more, right? And we've had some really creative people find some really creative things of the opportunity. We've had cash flowing real estate. We've had a young kid actually did a Turo. He bought Turo cars and he lived by an airport, and it created this cash flow for him to be able to recapture that money and pay back the policy while the interest kept growing tax-free. So now he has two ways to be able to grow that money. And so you can borrow your cash value, take a loan out on yourself. You can do real estate, like I said, Turo cars, whatever it is that you personally have in your heart that you want to do, you can utilize that cash value. And then you recapture the money and you repeat the process. So when you take out a loan, your entire cash value continues to compound, allowing you to make money in two places with the same dollar. It's brilliant. So here's a fun story. In 1955, we all know Walt Disney and Disneyland. So when Disney was unable to secure a large enough bank loan, he went to many, many banks. All of them said no. Walt Disney borrowed against his cash value from his whole life insurance policy to help finance the creation of his new theme park, Disneyland. And today, Walt Disney Company has an annual revenue of nearly $7 billion. All those no's, and look what he did for himself. So what's next? I know you guys have been jotting down questions. I know that you guys have just ideas in your mind. And so what we want to do next for you is you most likely will have a ton of questions after learning more about the infinite banking concept. So the next step would be to schedule a private, confidential online appointment with me so that we can go over options that could best suit you personally for your wants, your needs, and your personal financial assets. So I'm looking forward to helping you and serving you and your families with all of your safe money plays and helping to educate you further and get this set up correctly. Like Jesse was saying, about 90% of whole life policies are not set up correctly for this play with this power of what you can do. And that's what we do here. And so when you're ready, we can help you grow your tax-free cash value as well. So one of the reasons why I would like to get together with you guys privately is because we can talk about your assets, your wants, your needs, and keep it confidential for you and your family. So we're not going to do a Q&A here live, but we are going to be able to have you guys either text me, email me, contact me on Facebook. I know all of us are connected because of the masterclass. So if you aren't friends with me on Facebook, send me a friend request. If you guys have invited people here today and you are a referral partner, just connect them in a group message with me and we will help answer any questions and educate further. All right, so with that, next Saturday at the same time with the same Zoom link, we are going to go over how you can never run out of money in your retirement. So there are a lot of hidden retirement threats that we're going to teach you about. So you guys can join us next week on Saturday. If you'd like to learn more about how to protect your retirement from market volatility and not have to ever pay a money management fee ever again in your life with a zero floor, zero fee retirement risk-free upgrade, just join us next Saturday as well if that sounds like something that would be beneficial to you, your future, and your family. So, with that, you guys, thank you so much. God bless you. And I look forward to hearing all of your questions and connecting with you guys individually. All right. So, with that, you guys, have an amazing Saturday. Enjoy your weekend and God bless.